Moscow, Idaho is a community of roughly 25,000 people with about 11,000 students that attend the University of Idaho. Moscow has been known as a pretty safe place up until recently when a quadruple homicide shook the town on Sunday, November 13th, 2022. This was the first murder in 7 years. The 4 victims have been identified as 21-year-old Ethan Chapin, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle, 21-year-old Madison Mogen, and 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves. They all were students at the University of Idaho and were residing in a 2,300 square foot house rental on King Street, all with the exception of Ethan. He was visiting his girlfriend Xana and did not live at the home. There was also 2 other roommates that survived the attack that are being identified as BF and DM. Detectives have confirmed the whereabouts of these 6 prior and leading up to the attack. Here is the timeline. The 2 surviving roommates, BF and DM, had been out that night but returned to the shared residence about 1 a.m. Ethan and Xana were at a Sigma Chi frat house on the campus and returned to the home around 1:45 a.m. Kaylee and Madison were at a local bar called Corner Club from about 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. The 2 then grabbed food at the grub truck and then caught a ride back to their home around 1:56 a.m. Everyone was in their bedrooms by 4 a.m. except for Xana, who had received a DoorDash order to the house around 4 a.m. DM told investigators that around 4 a.m. she was in her first floor bedroom when she heard what sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in a third floor bedroom, and a short time later thought Goncalves said something like, "There's someone here." DM apparently opened her door to check if someone was there, but didn't see anyone. She then explained how shortly after she opened her door again to check because she heard crying and heard someone say something like, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." When she opened the door about 5 minutes later, she said she saw a figure in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards the home's back sliding door as she stood in her first floor bedroom, frozen and in complete shock. She then locked herself in her bedroom. DM said that the figure seemed to be about 5 foot 10 inches tall. He was a man that was not very muscular but had an athletic build with bushy eyebrows. Kernodle and her cell data revealed that she was likely using TikTok at 4:12 a.m. 5 minutes later at 4:17 a.m., a neighbor's security camera that was only 50 feet from Kernodle's window caught distorted audio of what sounded like a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog could also be heard barking. This statement by DM, security footage, and cell phone data has led investigators to believe that the quadruple homicide took place between 4 and 4:25 a.m. It wasn't until 11:28 a.m. when the surviving roommates, BF and DM, recruited friends to the scene and finally called 911. Everyone has been really baffled by this really big time gap from when DM saw the suspect and when the police were finally called. Also, why friends were brought to the scene first. Very strange, but the surviving roommates have been ruled out as suspects, and one expert has stated that the 8-hour delay likely made no difference in lives lost due to the condition that the victims were in. Since this horrible attack, the city of Moscow has been on high alert, with many students not returning back to school after their break, and many police calls. One call being about a car revving their engine as they passed through a neighborhood, and another asking police to escort a woman's daughter to her car in the dark. Things that normally the police would not have received calls about. Around 6 weeks after this quadruple homicide, over 19,000 tips and 300 interviews, a 28-year-old man named Brian Koberger has finally been arrested. On December 30th, he was extradited from Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, where he was visiting family. He currently resides in Pullman, Washington, and was a graduate student pursuing a PhD in criminology at the University of Washington, which was only 10 miles from the crime scene. According to his former classmates, his recent quiet and intense demeanor was making some of the classmates very uncomfortable. One classmate recalled how the students were asked to look at photos of a crime scene and figure out what happened. She said Kohberger was very quick to come up with ideas, and he seemed very passionate about crime scenes and serial killers, something that didn't seem too abnormal at the time due to their study. There has also been a Reddit post found from around 7 months ago, posted by a user who identified themselves as Brian Kohberger. In the post, he was seeking people that had been to prison to share their thoughts and emotions and actions from the beginning to the end of the crime commission process. So, what led to Kohberger's arrest? Kohberger was driving a white Hyundai Elantra that investigators and the community had been searching for. This Elantra was seen on security camera footage from around the street residents during the time of the attack. It has also been revealed that he had his license plate changed just 5 days after the homicide. Kohberger and his father also just happened to make a pre-planned cross-country road trip to their family's home in Pennsylvania after his semester ended and just weeks after the attack. They were pulled over twice in Indiana on their way, once for speeding and another for tailgating. Seems that they were in quite a hurry. Investigators looked into the location and history of Kohberger's phone, and they discovered that it was off or out of cell phone tower range during the time of the homicide. But they traced it near the crime scene between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. the day of the attack, meaning that he returned back to the area of the crime scene just hours after the murders. Records also indicate that Kohberger's phone was near the victim's residence at least 12 times since June 2022, and it was usually in the late evening, early morning hours, except for just one time. What was he doing all of those times? Was he planning his attack? Was he stalking them? The motive to this crime is still not known. The Idaho State Lab has also been able to match Kohberger's DNA that they gathered from a trash can outside his family home in Pennsylvania to DNA left at the crime scene. There was a leather knife sheath found laying on the bed next to one of the victims, with DNA found on the button snap. This knife sheath has been described as having Kabar, USMC, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle, Globe, and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. Where this knife came from is still unknown. Police also found a shoe print that showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to a Van-style shoe right outside of the door of the roommate who reported spotting the suspect. Whether they have matched this to a shoe of Kohberger's is still unknown at this time. Kohberger has been booked into Latah County Jail without a bail. He is due back in court for a status hearing on January 12th that will precede a preliminary hearing. He is wanted on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary for entering a residence with intent to commit murder. Details are still emerging as the court hearings and investigation continues. Thank you for watching Crooks and Crimes, and stay safe.